My name is Eric Jaffe. I'm on the product team here at MarginEdge, and that means that I get to help build and grow the software that you get to see. Before this, I was exclusively in restaurants. So I went to culinary school, I worked in kitchens and then operations. And that really makes me quite passionate about recipes, but specifically how you use recipes to control your food cost and why you would build recipes in MarginEdge. So let's jump into it. Today, we're going to start off by talking about why you would build these recipes. And I'm going to put this into two buckets. So one bucket is that because you want to know what the theoretical cost to produce that recipe is. That's the plate or pour cost. And then the second is so that your team can make those recipes to spec. So there's as little waste that loss as possible, and that your food cost is closest to your theoretical food cost. And so we're going to talk about both of these and why recipes are important for them. All right, so let's start with your plate and pour costs. So these are also sometimes known as your theoretical food costs. But what we can do in MarginEdge is once you tell us your recipe, once you tell us that my burger has 4 ounces of ground beef and 1 slice of Swiss cheese, 1 slice of tomato, and one piece of lettuce on a brioche bun, once you give us that information, we can then cost out that recipe for you based on the real-time price of those ingredients from your invoices. Now, once we do that and we have your menu price, that gives us a percentage. So for example, if it costs us $2 worth of ingredients to make this burger and we're selling it for 10, we've got a 20% plate cost on this dish. Now, that means that if we sold nothing but hamburgers in our restaurant and we had, and every burger was made exactly to spec with no waste stuff loss in our kitchen whatsoever, then we would run a 20% food cost at the end of the month, and that would be beautiful. So the first step is just saying, well, what is my theoretical food cost? Even if my team makes everything to spec with no waste stuff loss, what would my food cost be at the end of the month? And that's where we're starting here too. Now, the reason that it's so important to build them in MarginEdge, even if you've got a good food cost number, is that, of course, your ground beef and your cheese and all these ingredients are going to go up over time. And they're not all going to go up at the same rate, and sometimes they're actually going to come down, and there's a bunch of other complicated stuff. But MarginEdge simplifies that for you by taking all of the ingredients in that recipe and tying it right back to the invoice. So 365 days a year, we are processing those invoices. We've got your most recent price of ground beef, and we can send you an alert when any of these plate or pour costs, otherwise known as your theoretical food costs, go out of what you're looking for in terms of your food cost goals at the end of the month. Now, of course, even though you've built your recipes to spec within MarginEdge and you've costed them out appropriately, so they've got a 20% plate cost because you're trying to hit a 25% target for your end of month food cost number, your staff may not make things to spec. And that's the second reason that recipes are so important, because it allows you to communicate with your staff so they can portion and prep consistently according to the recipes that you've already costed out right within MarginEdge. All the recipes are centrally managed. All of it is mobile and tablet friendly. We'll talk more about when we get into setting up how you put these on a tablet so your team can just access these recipes easily. But really those two buckets, right? So it's about, in the first side, it's about making sure the recipes are costed appropriately. And then on the second side, it's about making sure your team is making things to spec. Now, of course, there's even more we can do. So that's kind of the start, and we're going to get you going there. But then we're going to get into some next level profitability with recipes. So the first thing that we're going to do, and this goes right back to those plate and pour costs. Those plate and pour costs and having those alerts set up are going to let you know when you should run a server contest, right? When a plate cost drops on your guacamole because your avocados went down in price over the winter, you can run a server contest for that. When you're on the plate and pour costs how to find a new vendor for a certain ingredient because it's gotten much more expensive recently. On the menu analysis, we're now going to layer on top of that how it sells in your restaurant. And this is going to allow you to say, okay, so my average profit or my plate profit for my guacamole is $3. Every time I sell one, I make $3, and it's a high seller, right? That would then put you in the star quadrant. And we know that that's a great dish for your restaurant that you should absolutely keep. It's also going to help you identify other things like dogs, right? Because now we're going to see, hey, you've got a low profit item, or maybe even you're losing money on an item, and it's not even a high seller. You should probably just take that off the menu. And there's a bunch of other things that we can do here with the menu analysis, but now we're layering on to the plate and pour costs, how much they sell through your POS. All right, now we'll talk about tracking variance, tracking waste, theft, loss. So we spoke about how you're going to use the recipe viewer to communicate with your team. Hey, I expect 4 ounces of ground beef to be put onto the burger. Now we're going to talk about, of course, I ran kitchens too. Of course, your team is, not going to always put 4 ounces of ground beef, and they're going to burn a burger patty. These next 2 features are how we're going to help you track that. So the first is the waste log. They're going to be able to tell you their known waste. So if a burger patty is burned on the grill, they can log that right on their tablet, their MarginEdge tablet. Now, I'm a realist. They're going to log some things. They're not going to log others, right? So let's be real about that. And that's where actuals versus theoreticals come in. So this is going to tell us all of our waste, theft, loss, regardless of if our team told us about it or not. We're going to be able to compare what we actually used to what we sold. And the sales of that dish go right back to the recipe, because we're going to say, hey, you push that button 10 times for that hamburger in your POS, and each hamburger patty has 4 ounces. So we know you should have used 40 ounces of ground beef yesterday. And so this is kind of the next level functionality of you already went to your kitchen team and you said, hey, here's recipes to spec. Here's our new recipe book on the tablet. They've got it. And now you're going to be able to track to see, even if they're not logging that waste, are they making recipes to spec? Okay, so now let's talk about how to get started and how to get these recipes into MarginEdge. So there's really 2 main ways. One is you can upload recipes quickly with AI. So you can create a recipe in minutes just by copy and pasting your recipe into our AI importer. There's no specific format that needs to be in. You could just copy and paste recipes in, import them, and create your recipe book. Or you can let us build your recipes for you. Our experts, we've got a team of chefs and other people who went to culinary school just like me on the team, and they build recipes, right? So very simple pricing. Just email us at recipes@marginedge.com. We'll take recipes in almost any format, and you can work with the team on the format you have them in, and we'll put them into MarginEdge for you. And then I just want to make a note here that if you have incomplete recipes, it is not necessarily cause for alarm. So that's fine. We want to meet you where you're at, and we want to get started anyways. We can create draft recipes with just the most expensive ingredients. So going back to that burger example, maybe you don't know exactly how many slices of cheese and how many slices of tomato go on that burger. We could just create the recipe with the bun and the beef, because maybe those are the 2 most expensive items. And we'll go back and add things, but there is value in just being able to track your ground beef variance or something else. And that'll give you a good sense of the plate cost. So at least you can kind of keep your finger at least a little bit on the pulse. Another technique is just to build the 10 most popular menu items. So just build, your burgers and your wings, if those are popular for you, or whatever it might be. And then we can get those in and track the plate costs on those. Some starting point is better than none, and I think you'll really find value out of that. So don't be afraid to just get started with a few recipes if needed. All right, so next steps. So the first thing you're going to do is create recipe types. You've got 3 different recipe categories that you can put these in. Recipe types are just a way to organize your recipes. We've got full training on how to build recipes. If you want to go more in detail, you can use our video or our help article. If you expand the recipes tab, the place to start, though, is going to be in recipes, and then you're going to click setup, right? That's where you'll just get started. That's where you'll create these recipe types. And then next, you'll create recipes. So you're going to create your prepared items first. That's just best practice because we want all your sub recipes in before you go to build your menu items. So a prepared item might be something like if you make a house-made brioche bun, you're going to build that recipe first. That's a prepared item before you build your menu item, which are things you have POS buttons for, like your burgers. Same thing with bar items. A prepared item would probably be simple syrup, and then your bar item might be your Manhattan. All right, you can cut and paste with the AI uploader, of course, to create those recipes. And again, we've got full videos and help articles if you want to go more in detail. Next, you'll set up your kitchen tablet. So you can give your team phone or tablet access to the recipe viewer and a few other things like taking inventory and uploading invoices without giving them access to any financial information in your restaurant. To do so, you would just take any tablet or any phone, and you'd be able to scan a QR code that you pull up on the web app and lock that device into what we call shared device mode. So that way they can't access any other parts of the MarginEdge app. All right, let's talk from the high level again about some other functionality. And again, we've got more detailed explainers if you want to go more in depth. But if you have more than one MarginEdge restaurant, you can restrict recipes to just some locations. It's an option when you're creating the recipe that you'll see. You can, by default, recipes are available to all of the locations that you have, but you can restrict it if you say, hey, I only want store A to have access to these recipes. And same thing with allergens. These are completely optional, but you can associate allergens with products. So for example, you can put a gluten allergen on your soy sauce, and then anytime you put soy sauce in your recipe, it will be marked with gluten allergen. And then I'll just spend one moment on two things that can get a little bit tricky. So MarginEdge automatically allows you to convert between volumetric units of measure or weight units of measure. But sometimes you buy your ingredient by weight, and you want to put it in a recipe by volume. So let's say you buy your rice in the 50-pound bag, but you want to put a cup of rice into your recipe. We've built many common conversions into MarginEdge, like for rice, for example. But sometimes you may see a bubble come up when you go to add a cup of rice to your recipe that says, hey, we don't have a conversion for this. You can give us any weight to volume conversion. So you can, just take a cup of rice, put it on a scale, and tell us, hey, that's 500 grams. And then we'll be able to add that to MarginEdge. That's too many grams for a cup of rice, but you get the idea. And then last but not least is yields. If you want to account for waste or shrinkage properly, you'll want to add yields. So there's the easiest way to do this is to create prep recipes with yield. So an example of this would be if you're breaking down your own salmon, obviously you're not getting 100% yield on that salmon. You've got your bones and your fins and all the other trim that's coming off that salmon. The best thing to do there would probably be to create a prep recipe for portioned salmon where you can account for, hey, the output of that would be 15 servings of salmon fillets. And then the input, the ingredient on that would be one whole salmon. So again, there's a more detailed video, but just be aware that yields exist and they can be handled in two different ways in MarginEdge. And last but not least, just know that we're here for you. Whether you're getting started, whether you're solving a problem, whether you're a seasoned pro at building recipes, we do have a team that's here to help. MarginEdge.com/help. And we're more than happy to dive in with you. Good luck. Really look forward to working with you, not only in building recipes, but really using those recipes to help you understand and control your food costs, because that's the ultimate goal. Thanks again.